All right, Jessy Miele, thank you so much for coming on. How's life right now? With everything that's going on with the spread of this virus, is it that serious where you are at?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely serious. I think everywhere, to be honest, just even if it's not super serious, it's just people being cautious just in general, because you don't know if you don't have it. If you could spread whatever you have, or you know what I mean? If you're not getting tested, if you don't have symptoms, doesn't necessarily mean that you don't have it. So it's crazy times.
Definitely. What is your training situation right now?
Well, so I work full time from home, as well as my boyfriend. So he does a lot of strength and conditioning, CrossFit, and we do have some stuff for that. So we are doing our workouts daily that we keep, like at least 3 times a week from that perspective for strength and conditioning, because I usually go and do my strength and conditioning 3 to 4 times a week. For just working out, martial arts wise, there's a lot of different things that we are also doing together. So he's a producer and he DJs live. So he'll play music and practice by, we have like a little balcony area, and I will do footwork drills, and we'll kind of have like a music event, and we'll live stream it for him, and he's practicing that end, and I'm practicing more of the personal responsibility part. So doing all kinds of drills. Unfortunately, I'm not interacting with any people, but it is working to continue to be active. So it's still really hard. It was nice to be able to go to the gyms and have like multiple people that, you might have a day where you're tired or not really motivated, and being home, it's kind of like, well, I could watch Netflix or I could do some so it's nice to, obviously I can't wait to get back into the gym and get back to that regular schedule. That was really helpful for me, but I'm making do with what I can work with. We've been running is like the one thing we can do, because a lot of people I don't think have access to a swimming pool or a crazy bike or something. So that's been my main cardio outside of a couple of the weights we have.
Yeah, definitely. No, your last fight, I think it was the first event in North America that was truly affected by the outbreak. How was that whole week of having a camp and then going to fight week, and there's like murmurs and whispers of like the event could be altered in some way, and then at the end eventually it just being called off?
To be honest, the week of it was the same. I would just say the same as how I normally focus. I didn't really change much, because there was potentially a rumor that something could happen, but it wasn't really real. At that point, it was like, you know what? I'm not going to do anything different. I'm just going to do what I do normally, get the water weight off, train as hard as I can until, you kind of don't do that the like last couple of days, but just focus on the fight. So whatever happens, happens. It didn't really become real until they actually did call it. I was like, wait, what? So that kind of was scary, but that it is what it is. It's safer for everyone. So I understand.
That fight was, of course it's basically postponed, but it's a huge opportunity to fight somebody that's very well known throughout the MMA community and been in the game for a long time, and could actually catapult you up the rankings in the featherweight division. Do you feel like it as a missed opportunity right there?
I think it just gives me more time to continue to just get better. I like you said, it's postponed, so it's still in theory going to happen. Obviously being, the world is changing, and safety first with the world. But, so at this point, it's just the same thing as I was doing before, just getting ready to fight her again. And, when I go into fights in general, it's really not about who I'm fighting. It's more about just being a better fighter than I was the last time I fought. So I have to continue to do that regardless.
Your Bellator debut, you took on a former title challenger, Talita Treta. You got the split decision victory over her. When you analyze that performance, what positives did you take away from that?
I definitely went into that fight with a lot of confidence overall in general with my ability as a mixed martial artist, MMA fighter overall. I'm pretty confident in every position possible. I mean, there's always going to be a time in a fight where you're like, oh, I don't want to be here. But I felt like that with that fight, just there wasn't any panicking. Not that like she didn't do anything that was like, oh, a little like, nerve wracking, but I was calmer. I took my time in my mind, calmer in my mind to like kind of think things through and make smart decisions. So some of that though can also be looked at as it could be a little bit of hesitation, being a little bit more confident with what I can do, because it's always nice to go out in the first round and finish the fight fast.
Leading up to that fight, the narrative was like, Talita was a jiu-jitsu world champion, and if you go to the ground, it's going to become very dangerous. Did I get into your head a little bit, or were you kind of challenged by that? Were you thinking like, I need to go to the ground, I need to show people that I could go there with a world champion and handle my own?
I'm absolutely not challenged by anybody that they put in front of me. I've done jiu-jitsu since I started. I'm black belt also. I have fought and won many things. I just feel like what happens is, from that perspective, a lot of the people speaking about other fighters I don't have footage from my fights that I have had like in the past. I don't know why. I obviously can't film my own fights. So there's a lot of stuff when I was fighting in the IBJJF and ADCC that I won and did awesome. And they're like, just, it's not necessarily out there on YouTube and everything. So I have no hesitation when it comes to fighting anybody, world champion or not world champion. And I'm not afraid of that at all. But I guess it's kind of nice to like put myself in. Most people think that, oh, well, Jessy maybe she doesn't have the experience, or she doesn't. So, she doesn't, nothing, I don't see anything on paper, and then I can prove to them, in the fights. Well, actually I can, hang with everybody. So. Yeah,
it's actually an advantage to not have all this footage online, because nobody can watch what you can really do.
Yeah. I'm usually behind the camera. I know that sounds bad right now because my lighting's a little bit off, but normally I have better lighting. But I am just not as good at, I guess, people getting videos of me. So whatever.
Yeah, it is what it is. Now, between 2017 and before you returned to 2019, there was a long gap of inactivity. What was going on in that time?
I was 2017. Yeah. So that was. There was one point where I went to grad school. That was, I think, earlier than that, though. And then the other point was just not being able to find a fight. When I went to grad school, I was able to do a lot of jiu-jitsu, so I was progressing, and my jiu-jitsu belt level got higher. So, but my fights, I didn't get a chance to have MMA fights because I was also working full time. It was just a little difficult to balance all of that. But as I progressed higher belt level, it got a little harder to find opponents as well. So at one point, it went about a year and a half. It was like not really anybody. A fight would happen and then it was canceled, or something. I think one of them we ended up trying out for the Ultimate Fighter. So that fight I was going to go fight. The girl I was supposed to fight was also going to try out. So we ended up just kind of, let's go try out. So a couple things kind of got in the way, but it wasn't necessarily personal or anything with me being hurt or anything. It was just wasn't kind of working with finding opponents.
Was it frustrating at times where you couldn't actually step inside the cage to fight?
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. It's I remember like the first couple amateur fights, just having like tickets sold and having like ready to go, and then something happens and it's always last minute, and I'm not blaming the promoters or the fighter that I was supposed to fight or whatever, whoever it is. It's whoever it is or whoever's fault it was. It's just really disappointing when you're like so ready to go and it doesn't happen.
You mentioned earlier about like the confidence that you had going into your Bellator debut, going into 2020, this new year. That confidence must be at another level because you actually went in there and proved a lot in that fight.
Yeah, so it's I do the training. My coaches, they've put a lot of time into me, and I really want to execute and show what I can do in the cage. And in the past, I feel like I was just always a little bit hesitant with. I played a lot of sports in my life, so with a lot of things, sports-wise and everything. But I'm in a really good position right now. If I am to lose a fight, it's probably because I'm going to end up beating myself, or it's not going to be that the person was the better fighter. They just would have been that better fighter that night. They got something off on me and I didn't do something. But I wouldn't necessarily see it being because I didn't put enough work in.
Right now, currently, are you just maintaining? Because you never know when Bellator will call and say, okay, this fight is going to be at this event. Do you have a target event? Like,
I want to be back on as soon as possible. So yeah, maintaining is definitely something that I think in general I need to do, because being a 145-pound fighter, female, there's not a lot of us out there. So anything can happen where even if another event is happening and someone gets hurt, they might just call you. So you want to be ready regardless. And I think we're going to have an event in May, and I would love to do that, but I'm still not sure. It's a little close to with everything going on. So
The Bellator featherweight division, phenomenal. It's like growing by the minute, and you're part of it. You're one of the rising prospects. Now, when you look at it, how excited are you about the division? Like, do you see, who do you see in front of you that you can face even after Leslie Smith? Do you look further, or do you just focus on Leslie Smith?
I mean, in the moment, it's usually a focus on what the job is to do at that moment. I don't want to get ahead of myself. I really want to focus on who I'm fighting at the time I'm fighting them. But I mean, it's just like you said, it's amazing to see a lot of people that are 145, like a Cyborg, for example, and a Cat Zingano, and just in general, everybody that's there. Like, there's so many great 145ers that I've always wanted to fight in general. So I'm just really happy that there's a division, and all the people that are good in 145 are in it.
Yeah, and also they have the support of the fans. The fans support the featherweight division in Bellator, which is something that I enjoy that they do that, because it doesn't seem like they really support it in the UFC.
Yeah. The other thing is, I mean, a lot of people ask about age and such. It's just different. I feel like for women especially, it's been different. And the more time you put in, the more confidence you get. Like I was saying about myself, the more skills you develop. I know a lot of women that are over 40 that are in better shape than I am, and maybe they don't fight. But they're like, even like CrossFit people. I'm like, oh my God. So there's always a possibility that some 20-year-old or 18-year-old might be able to outdo you physically. But if you're smarter mentally, then you can still win. So
Cyborg doesn't really have an opponent. Do you feel like she should fight Julia Budd again, get the rematch in, or do you see like another challenger that's more worthy?
I definitely feel like a lot of people, so like Leslie Smith, for example, Julia Budd, Cat Zingano, I believe she did fight Cat Zingano. They all already fought Cyborg, so I haven't fought Cyborg. So I know I said that I have one, whatever my next goal is, if like, as they said, it's postponed, so Leslie Smith, but I still have something that everybody else, that no one else has, I guess you could say, from that perspective, where I want my shot at Cyborg.
Yeah,
she's an amazing fighter, but she's not unbeatable, so that would be awesome.
Yeah, definitely, because you do have a 4-fight winning streak currently. If you get another one, that's 5. They could promote that. I feel like a fresh face and a fresh opponent for Cyborg would be something that they could promote.
That'd be awesome. Now,
do you watch the like women's MMA in general? Do you watch other promotions? Do you watch the women like in other divisions?
I do. I was lucky enough to go out to the UFC, the tryouts for the 145-pound division that they were potentially building for the UFC. So I was able to meet a lot of girls that also fight at like 125, 135. And I like to follow them and see what they're doing. Some of them are overseas, like Cindy, and there's a couple people in like Alaska. And just it's nice to kind of just see what everybody's doing. So I like to watch the people that I know. And I do watch some of the smaller girls. But I know that they're definitely amazing athletes, and they're great. But I know that I'm never going to be that small, so I won't be or 115 or probably not even 125 ever. I don't want to be, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. Now recently there was probably one of the best women's MMA fights in the history of the sport. Recently happened between Zhang Weili and Joanna Jędrzejczyk. Did you check that fight out? Did you get to watch that?
I didn't get to watch it, but I did see, and I heard a lot about just how everybody was saying it was an amazing fight in general, and how Joanna was looking a little crazy after that fight. So I have not seen the full fight, but I heard it was a really good one to watch.
Yes. Did you? You must have seen the pictures of Joanna's head, her forehead. Yeah. It's just amazing how she can have that on her face and continue to fight for, I think, 15 more minutes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're. I think females in general were pretty tough, and there's something to be said about a 250-pound man hitting somebody else will knock them out most likely a little bit more than maybe a 145-pound girl. So it's not necessarily you're gonna take a lot of damage before you go down.
You've been fighting professionally for more than 10 years now. When you first started and now you've been watching the evolution of women's MMA, Did you think that it would be as big as it is now when you were coming up?
I guess I didn't, not really. I still think there's a long way to go. I'm really excited to see how like social media has played into it and is helping for up and coming girls, like younger girls, to see how we can, as more, I guess you could say, the old school crowd now, can help them so that they can progress. But there's still so much to learn, I feel like, and so much to do, even just from a perspective of like how to cut weight properly and not get hurt. And there's still a lot, but it is really cool to see, to be in the same division as Cyborg, for example, when I was watching her fight Gina Carano when I first started. So that's awesome.
For yourself, where do you see yourself at the end of this year? Do you see like probably a title fight coming up with Cyborg versus Cyborg? Is that the goal by the end of this year?
Yeah, I mean, I always tell everybody one step at a time. So I have to win, and then I want another fight, and I want to win that fight. And if it's with Cyborg, that'd be amazing. If it's not, then I'm winning again, so I can go fight Cyborg. So yeah, I mean, it's different world, different time, I guess, right now. But if I could get at least 2 more fights in this year, that would be amazing. I would love to have that. So that would be great. If I could even have more, that'd be even better. But we got to see how everything pans out, I guess, right?
Thank you so much, Jessy, in this time of uncertainty, and good luck on getting the fight as soon as possible. Hopefully, when they announce that, I'll get you back on to talk about the preparations. Basically, your second training camp for the same fight. But hey, it's a big name, big opportunity. Good luck with it, and yeah, we'll get you back on. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.